Hey everyone, welcome to How You Go There. I'm Scott Montgomery, and I'm thrilled to kick off this series where we walk through the How You Go There workbook together.
And I'm your co-host, Linda Misegadis. We're diving into the real stories and steps behind personal and professional growth.
Before you can chart out a new path, you have to understand the path that brought you here. And this series is all about slowing down, reflecting, and getting curious about your experiences. That's how you go there. Welcome back, Linda Misegadis. How are you today?
I am doing good. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great, actually. I'm rested, feeling good. I got a lot of travel the last couple of weeks behind me. I'm really focused on, I'm excited about today's topic. We talked a little bit about this before we jumped on. I really love coaching, mentoring, advising, and how all that works together. So hopefully we'll be productive today in sharing that with our listeners.
I think so. Well, and honestly, I think that this is such a natural continuation of where we left off in the last episode, because we were talking about mentors and advisors, which are really those people in your life who give you perspective. They maybe help shape how you think, but it's not always as structured, right? It's a little more organic in how it is. And then, there's this other layer to it where you want to take it another step further, where you need some structure and you need some accountability. And sometimes you need someone to tell you, get your shit together. I was
It's
just
a combination.
thinking about it's like a little bit about it. And I may not want to hear that from my mentor or my advisor, but my coach, I don't have a coach because I think I've got everything figured out, right? I have a coach because I need some help. And sometimes you need to be called out on your own shit, right? So,
I think so.
And that's really where you look at that. So, but this is your world. So, I'm excited to really get into this one here. But when you think about coaching, what makes it different from everything else that we've talked about?
Oh, what a great question. I'm glad you asked that because I think it will kick off today's discussion in a very pointed way. And for me, it was very important that I got certified by the International Coaching Federation, and I took the coursework required to even test in by them as a leadership and organizational well-being coach. I might have slipped a word in that, but bottom line is I learned coaching as a tool to ensure the progression and wellness of an organization and support that in a way that allows those who are in it to flourish. I also am a consultant that knows process and has some experience in how to operate an organization, and I often blend the two of those in my practice. But coaching is a tool that is very much self-discovery driven. It's very structured. There are a certain amount of steps that a coach may follow. You have to ask to offer advice. You have to, there's a lot of good that comes from the structure in that you can also have assignments. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? What is it you'd like to explore? What are the next steps? And it gets very succinct in the process of coaching. And what I do is I add a layer of consultative. Here's what I think you should say or do based on my experience. And I find that really invited in a lot in my coaching sessions. And I find it to be a lot more productive for my client community in coaching. So not to undilute it, it's coaching is a tool and it's very much self-discovery driven. It's very, what are we trying to accomplish? When will that be done? How do you think you should do it? Holding that conversation. And then I add on a consultative layer, and that's more mentoring, consulting, advising.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you know what I love about this? One, where I think about where you wrote this into the book and then in the workbook, because it's a timing thing, right? So if I think about this handy dandy workbook here on
Thank you
how
again,
go
shameless
there.
press.
Yes,
Shameless
absolutely. Yes, that's right. Shameless plug is that it really kind of focused in on, we talked about partnerships. We talked about relationships.
We did.
Then we kind of laid the foundation around habits, because you need to think through your
Being
habits,
peak
right? And then
peak performance.
and then we walked about into goals and started
why are
to
you
talk
doing it
about
at all?
goals,
Where
right?
are you
Exactly.
headed?
We tied the mentor and advisor, which kind of leaned back into the partnership and relationships. So kind of building that. So now we have the foundation we need to move into coaching, because if I haven't given any thought to any of that, then like if I said to you tomorrow, I want to run a marathon, but I haven't given any thought to any of it at all. I haven't laid the foundation. I've no, okay, am I physically able to do it? Did I do any of the groundwork to determine that I'm going to become a marathoner? I couldn't do it, right? And that's similar to what we're talking about here, that if I'm going to go into my coaching session with you, I need to have given at least some level of thought to all of these things. Otherwise, my coaching interaction is probably not going to be, it's not going to warrant much, right?
Well, I think actually, I'm literally sitting here thanking you out loud for sharing with our audience the gift of what we've shared prior to this session is just that, because it saves them the money of a coach walking them through those things
Oh,
as
good point.
priorities.
Good point. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we provide this service for free. We hope for likes and follows. We hope we're providing a value for folks. That was my intention. That was my intention in writing the book, are that
Right.
those things do matter. And now, if you bought the book, it's a lot less than a coaching session where someone's going to start out with, well, who are your mentors? What is your physical
Yeah.
assessment? What
Yeah.
is your goal? What are your habits to reaching that goal? And you can spend a lot of time in there paying for a coach to walk you through it.
That's a
Our
really good
framework,
point.
well, my framework and the model we're trying to follow here does offer those things as compounding. And then again, if you look at coaching as a tool, it
Yeah.
allows someone who's seasoned, trained, and certified to hold the space of self-discovery with
Mhm.
those layers hopefully compounded on already. But again, they can be coached in too, and then it just gets really expensive. For the coach,
That's a really
charges
good
you per
point.
hour, you know?
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
if I gotta start from the very beginning and teach you how to
Right.
tie your shoes,
Right.
to if I like, if I'm using my my running, analogy, like, if you haven't even figured out how to put on tennis shoes and tie your own shoes, then, yeah, it's gonna cost a lot more money because now I have to build the foundation with you to get there. But you said something that I'm really curious about because, um, what I heard you say is you really, coaches, they are trained, they have, there's a methodology behind it. There's more to it.
It's a
So,
framework.
like, again, yeah, there's a framework behind it. Why does that matter to me if I'm looking for a coach that I want someone who has all those things that you just talked about?
They're validating. They're tried and true. They're proven. You can't get them without certain amount of classroom study, experience, philanthropy, and giving those hours to folks, and just being studied in how it is to hold the space as a coach. And I find personally that that's of value to pitching why someone would pay me an hourly rate, because I'm showing them a proven track record, or proven framework rather, of how to coach. And they get the experiences that will self-prophecy enlightenment
Mhm.
based on what the International Coaching Federation or George Mason or Georgetown or UVA, any of these schools that offer the training programs that allow you to even qualify to go be tested in
Mhm.
the International Coaching Federation. And so really to synthesize all of that, it is really a tool that is not as loose as someone saying, well, I've got experience and I can share it with you. It's actually a tool that says, here's the best way to pull out of your coachee, and
Yeah.
here is a proven method, and you've been trained to hold that space in a
Well, I'm
way
glad
that,
you said that. Yeah,
yeah,
because that's what I was kinda, like, trying to poke at a little bit there is because we see it in sports a lot of times. We're just my husband and a friend of ours, we were just talking about that this weekend, that just because you were a great basketball player or a great football player does not mean that you are capable of coaching a football team or a football player, because just because you have the skills, there's a different way of having the skills and gaining the skills and actually teaching the skills to someone else, right? And that's what I wanted to get at, was that just because maybe I've been the CEO of 5 Fortune 500 companies, or I've, done all of these things, does not mean that I'm qualified necessarily to coach you just because I have a lot of lived experiences. Lived experiences are great for mentors and advisors, but coaching, that's a whole different ballgame, right?
well, that's how I differentiate them. I mean, I could easily say that I'm qualified to coach because of life experience. I put value on a framework that teaches me to hold the
Mhm.
space in a structure that allows you to self fulfill. That's
Yeah.
coaching, right? So
Yep.
that's a framework that I find value in, but I could also say I can coach my kids all day long and they don't pay me. So,
Right.
I think it's how one wants to look at where they
Sure.
include a coach. And for
Yeah.
me, I market the training, I market the experience, and I market the value. And for me, I market the extended value of I can bring consultative experience to our coaching. And I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. One of the steps in coaching that I recall vividly is, may I offer an opinion or may I offer additional information to something you just
Okay.
said, is a
Yeah.
coaching move. Because
Okay.
a consultative move would be like, you're paying me and I'm going to say, I heard you say something, you do it this way, which is a strength
Mhm.
of mine, which is why coaching came
Yes.
hard for me because I like to talk, to think, and give my opinion. But you have to actually ask for that space in a
Yeah.
coaching, in a true certified coaching conversation. That has to be requested and
Yeah.
granted,
Okay.
because
Okay.
you're really holding the, I mean, if I were going to summarize for the sakes of our podcast and so for loose conversation, a coaching session is literally managing and helping someone manage what they want to say or feel or execute about a certain topic,
Okay. Okay.
not
Yeah.
tell them what to
Yeah.
do.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, well, and one of the things that, you have in the workbook here that will help all of our listeners is there's a page in the workbook that is saying finding your coach. And one of
Yeah.
the things that you talk about are what qualities and expertise do you look for in a leadership coach? And I think that this is important because not everybody's going to want everything on this list, right? Like
No.
maybe I don't want somebody who is uh they just maybe they have this empathy. Maybe I'm not looking for empathy. Maybe
Right.
I don't want that empathetic side, but I need somebody who's gonna whip my ass into shape, right?
Right.
So I don't necessarily want the empathetic coach. I need someone that is a clear communicator, is another one that you've got on here, or results oriented or problem solving. But maybe somebody else, depending upon their journey and why they're seeing a coach, maybe they want the person who is more curious, maybe focused on emotional intelligence, has that level of empathy that they're looking for, and that's what's important. Which is why I think what you were talking about and that's why you put this in here is
Yeah.
because it's really hard to find a coach that is going to work for you. And if you find one and you don't like them, don't stay with them,
No,
right?
right, 100%.
Find a different coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also there's a layer of this that is fun to poke around in too. I believe that the things that I put in my workbook there are all qualities a coach should have been trained in and has. So while you as a coachee may say, I'm not interested in a coach that has empathy, you better find a coach that has empathy. It doesn't mean that they have to make you feel their empathy. They have to understand and empathize with what your interest in
That makes
their
sense. Yeah, they have
offering
to have
is.
empathy. Yeah,
So
that
it's
makes a
both
lot of sense.
sides.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
right.
And so
Yeah,
someone who's stronger or demonstrating more empathy might be for someone who needs a softer hand, would
could
be
be.
how I would answer that question, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I like that.
I think that all coaches should bring empathy if they're using that tool, and I think all consultants should bring empathy if they're using that tool, right?
That makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a good call out because you're right, it's maybe what I need in that moment, and so what you've put in here are these are the different qualities and expertise that you expect in a coach. Now
Correct.
I have to determine what's most important to me in what I'm looking for, and that's why you have, from the selections, list your top 3 qualities. So if I know that what I need because we might need coaches at different stages in our life too, right? So if maybe I'm younger and I'm earlier in my career, I might need a coach for that phase of life, and I may have a different set of needs that I want from a coach at that point. Where now maybe, we were just talking about this, what when you're at that later stage in your life and you're kind of thinking about that bridge plan is what I've been calling it, is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what do I
You and
need
I
in a
both.
coach there, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right, yes.
exactly. So I think that's another important piece of it is you're not going to just like you wouldn't hire a volleyball coach to teach you how to play softball. It's the same thing here, right? You need to make sure that you've got the right coach for the right stage in your life for what you're trying to focus in on.
I think also it's not as black and white as you're demonstrating in this
Yes, it
example. I
is,
think
Scott. I've said
no,
it's this way, and
no,
that's the way it
it's
is.
not. It is not, and that's the beauty of coaching. Also, the beauty of what you're promoting in the companion guide, and thank you for that because
Yeah.
those the function of those exercises and this one specifically is to help you, the purchase of the companion guide, or help you with our podcast, determined to take seriously some of those things.
Okay.
How you want to define empathy is up to you. Do you want the coach to be
Mhm.
empathetic? Do you call empathy nice? Do you call empathetic aware and experienced? Do you call empathetic, soft spoken? All
Yeah.
I'm asking for in that companion guide is that you look at these features of a good coach, and that's my experience,
Mhm.
speaking from my experience. And now you're thinking about what you're looking for. To your point, you get a coach that never gives you an answer. That may not
Yes.
work for you, but they may have empathy. And all you've done in the workbook is drill down to some of the skill sets. And that's the enlightenment that I hope saves my listeners and my customers and people interested in this an extra step of having to endure a $500 an hour coaching session to find out that they don't have empathy. Does that make
Right,
sense? So it's
right.
not black
It
or white. It's
does.
sort of like what lens are you looking at empathy is really
Mhm.
the invitation of the companion guide. With over a decade of experience, WorldGate LLC is your trusted partner in IT staffing and project management tailored for the public sector. We help government agencies and organizations navigate complex technology landscapes, implement effective workforce solutions, and build high-performing teams from strategic staffing to seamless systems integrations. We bring the experience and reliability to execute, empower, and exceed for our customers. Staffing? Check. Project management? Check. Public sector solutions? Check. Experience you can trust. Visit our website at www.worldgatellc.com today.
Yeah, well, because you kinda touch on it a little bit here
This
in
is
the
very
in this
rudimentary.
specific
Yes.
here, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's the crafting your coaching request, and that's kinda what you're talking about here, right? So
Yes.
I need to have my goals, and if I have done the workbook, I know what my
Yeah.
goals are,
Well, you don't know
and
them.
then,
You've drilled through some of them to make your experience of looking for a coach
yes.
more accurate. That's all. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and then, you have your challenges. So, like, what am I challenged with right now? So, I was using running as if I
Yeah.
have any experience
You've done
running,
that before, though.
but I've done a couple half marathons, doesn't mean
Yeah.
I know what I was doing, but I did them. But had I talked to a coach maybe before then, what I would have said is one of my challenges was breathing because I have a hard time breathing and I don't know how to breathe properly when you're running. Maybe a coach would have taught me that. So, that would be here where you say, what is the primary interest in working with a coach? And then what would success look like? And this I think is really important, the what would success look like, because that's where I've struggled often with the concept of coaching is that if I haven't decided or defined what success looks like in that, no matter how great the coach is, it's probably not, I'm not going to get much out of it, right?
And what does success look like is a certified step of a good coaching conversation.
Ah, okay. See?
And
I'm
also,
learning things today.
yes, and I'm also going to go back, right? So that's the value of import that. And a minute ago, I told you how to do something. So
Yeah.
it gets into a place where the coaching industry would say you can always ask a question to offer advice. And I get that, but sometimes people don't want to pay for 3 hours for that. And sometimes I don't want to do it that way, and they don't want it that way, and they can assess that for themselves, which
Yeah.
is why you look at the right coach. I will also say that you want to look at a coach that maybe doesn't tell you how to, we're talking about,
Yeah.
for me, not a coach that's going to tell you how to breathe better. I'm going to go back to that comment.
Okay.
I struggled with breathing, and now a coach has told me how to breathe better. I would say the coach is the one that helps you discover that breathing better is a step you want to take.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
I'm at that intersection with this companion guide. I am
Okay.
the balance between training someone how to lift a weight and training someone to think about whether or not they want to lift a weight is
Mhm.
the coaching that I'm talking about, we talk about, especially in
Yeah.
business. What is it you're looking for? How do you want to progress? Where do you want to move forward? The consultative piece that I like to overlay is don't use a dumbbell, use a barbell. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where I'm finding most people do appreciate the mix. And
Mhm.
that's
No.
why I call coaching a quiver inside the what is it? The quill inside the quiver, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, and what I love about everything that you're saying here is it's kinda like when we talk about financial planning, nobody taught you how to, balance a checkbook or taught you about credit or any of those things when you're young, right? It just doesn't
That's
happen.
why I
Doesn't
went
happen at
practically bankrupt. My credit cards were maxed at 16 years old.
exactly. Even
Right.
today, they still don't teach that
No,
to kids
not very
coming out
well.
and
Right.
not, in high school or college, they are not getting that kind of guidance. That's very similar here, which is what I appreciate so much about what we're doing here,
Mhm.
and really the driver behind when you wrote the book, even though I know we said it was cathartic, the workbook then layered into that to then say, how can we maybe help provide this kind of guidance and coaching to the next generation to make them more successful? Because right now, there's a ton of transitions happening in the world today.
Yes.
AI coming in, the work world is changing, the future of work is changing. All of these things are happening. Most people are not prepared with what they're supposed to do because they only ever had maybe that job and nobody provided them, or they didn't know how to seek out that coaching opportunity. And that's what I love about what we're doing, because you could either go, if you are financially able to go get the coach, go get that, or you literally can use the book and the workbook to help
To
give
help
you
weed
recommendations,
yeah,
right?
exactly, and not only that, Linda, it's very surface level, which is why there'll be another version of taking this and sort of massaging into something a little
Yeah.
deeper, and I'm working on that, so for my audience, because at the end of the day, you just nailed it. It's not about and I would correct that most people don't know how to engage a coach. It's rather those who wanna engage a coach might find benefit in shopping for them after assessing what they're looking for, is what this companion
Mm.
guide is about.
Mhm.
Insert relationships, insert what habits you're going to do, insert what goals you want to do. This companion guide allows you to start to unpack what
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how, I'm sorry, what and why and where to go with what your inquiries are. It's not a guide to train you how to breathe better. It's a guide to
Yeah.
say, do I want to breathe better? What person would I look for that would coach that along? And maybe it's just a pulmonologist to teach me how to do it, and I don't need a coach at all. So
Yeah.
this is very entry level, is my point. And the book was
Right.
designed against the trainings that I had as a coach, and
Yeah.
I layered in cathartic memories, and I layered in stories to make those topics relatable. The
Yeah.
companion guide takes that into a place where it's not black or white, and it's not cause for you get to do it and this is going to answer it. It makes you
Mhm.
think about how do you want to answer it? How do you want your relationships to look? What goals do you want to set? What habits do you think you need to
Mhm.
incorporate peak performance? And what coach are you looking for? One that has these skills or that skills? And then you go unpack that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point because honestly, I could read a book, and I have read books
Yeah, a
on,
lot of them.
I've read a couple books,
Yeah,
but
a lot of them. I know.
but, um, but I could read a book on breathing, right? And I'm just using that as a good because
Yeah.
I know it's a thing for me. So I could read a book on breathing and it could tell me everything about how you're supposed to breathe. But I don't know how to apply that to my actual situation,
Sure.
and I need someone to maybe watch me breathe, see how I go about it. What am I doing? Because I know I have a tendency to hold my breath, but I don't realize I'm doing that. There are different things, breathing through your nose or through your mouth. There are all these different things. I need someone to do that. It's the same thing in business. I find,
Yeah.
like when I have worked with a coach, it's very similar. I can read all the leadership books out there. It doesn't mean I know how to lead, right? What I need then is maybe someone who I can talk through. We go through these situations. We work through problems. I tell them what
100%.
my output is, right? Or what my goal is behind all of that. And then they're helping give me the guidance to achieve those goals so that I do become, if my goal is to be a better leader than I have. But what do I need to do to get there, right?
That's exactly right. Shout out to the International Coaching Federation for setting up proven, tried and true ways in which the framework can be of value to recipients.
Yes,
My
yeah,
companion guide is literally a way to introduce how to shop that, how to experience that, and ways to look at that. It's before them.
yes,
Does that make
yeah.
sense? And
No, it makes
also
perfect sense, yeah.
and also there's some people would just like to be advised. And in
Mhm.
business, unlike running in pulmonology, I
Yep,
have some consultative value. So I
yeah,
like to mix those two things together for folks. In a lot of what we're talking about is business, and a lot of my successes came from applying what I'm saying with folks that I didn't pay and folks that I did pay. I had a leadership
right.
coach for 12 years. She
Yeah,
was fantastic. She understood me. She offered advice. She let
yep.
me talk it through and offered space. I told her when to stand down. She told me when to stand down. And we had a very
Ye
symbiotic relationship as it resulted into leadership. And sometimes it trickled into how I raise my kids.
Well, let's
I,
talk about that for just a quick second, though,
well, I was just
because
going to
the
finish.
other
I was going to
thing.
finish my thought on
No,
that.
you can't finish your thought,
I'm gonna have to finish my thought on that. Sorry. I had the paid for coach. And then
you finish your thought, yes.
I also had folks that were more relational based, familial, and also coached me and mentored me, but I wouldn't say coach, I would say mentor and advised. And I didn't pay
Okay.
them. I reciprocated a
Yeah, it was
payment
kind
of
of,
sorts,
yeah, a
a
little quid pro
relationship.
quo sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those are really good things to just sort of highlight, which is why I felt compelled to insist on finishing my thought, because I think listeners and folks that are trying to understand this can differentiate between a mentor and someone you trust and you give back to, and then
Yeah.
a coach who has a framework that you pay for that is proven, tried and true. That's how I
Y
delineate.
No, and I'm glad you took the time to call that out. What I wanted to just hone in on for just a quick second
Yeah.
was the chemistry component of it, because that is the other piece that we have here in the workbook, right, is the chemistry check, because that is really important, because if you're my coach and I
Yeah.
don't like you,
Don't
if
bother.
I don't like what you're telling me, but I'm still paying you because I just keep showing up to do it, I'm gonna get nothing out of that. So talk about
Yeah.
chemistry and why
E
that's so
e
important.
easily, yourself included. I have friends that are out there that are like, "How is it you're a coach? Because I really like you, but I hired a coach and I didn't like them." It matters. I think it's important that folks don't pay for someone they don't like because they're already starting in the negative, and the difference between liking a coach and having a coach have hard conversations that are not fun is very different. And
Yeah,
so if the coach is making you self-explore in an area you don't want, that can feel like you don't like them. There could be a
yes,
real value in that exploration, only decided by you, the coachee. So
yeah,
the permission for that is not in my companion guide yet. The permission for that is coming in future companion guides. And it is in this podcast that we recognize that that layer is really driven by the person paying for the coach. And my
yeah,
personal opinion is everyone I've met, yourself included, if you're paying for a coach you don't like, you're really not going to like difficult conversations. So don't start there.
mm,
You got to have
yeah,
a chemistry. And I think that
yeah,
the coach I had for 12 years, we had very similar interests in real estate. Her brother passed in a very similar way that my brother passed. She
mhm,
was very maternal for me when I needed maternal.
yeah,
She was very business centric when I needed business centric.
mhm,
Her husband was very involved when I needed male figure. I mean, we just really complemented each other all the way around. And
yeah,
no, I didn't love everything that had to be said or directed.
yeah,
And I wasn't forced to take it, I was forced to consider it. So a good coach will
yes,
offer consideration and not a demand, which is why you start in the framework with what does success look like for you? And then the coach can
right.
decide, am I exploring with you or are you asking me to be an assignee? Because coaches aren't assignees.
Yeah, it's a good call out, and I think I wanna clarify too, when I say, I wouldn't like, that
Yeah.
to your point, it mean I should have, if the chemistry is there, then you can, similar to today, because you and I have good chemistry,
Yeah.
you can say to me, "You're wrong. I actually think dot, 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 dot," or,
Right.
"No, that wasn't the intention." And I'll receive that in a positive way
In the spirit of
because
collaboration, because I'm your friend.
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly, and I think
And
that's the same thing with your coach. I could take a hard conversation with my coach, but if I don't like or respect or trust that person, then I'm not gonna take anything they have to say, good or bad, right?
yeah, I wanna correct the word friend. I'm your friend, but in a scenario like that, you don't have to be friends with your coach, you have to respect your coach.
And
And
I
if
think that's a really important
map like
clarification,
with
yeah.
respect, you know?
Yeah, mhm. Nope,
Because you
that's
and I can
true.
explore all day offline about how much we hate this or love that, and it's a consideration, then you can hang up, and I'm not invested in you believing my way. I'm probably hoping,
Yeah,
but at the same time, a coach is the same, and if you can't get past, like, respect,
yeah,
oftentimes people call that like, especially in
that's
the
true.
beginning. I
That's a
don't
good
it's just a way
point,
to look
yeah.
at it. It's just another way to
That's a
look at
really
it.
good point, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that,
An
yeah.
important one too, and I think what the value of our podcast is for people to hear the exploration, is to evaluate the tools they can use to explore them, i.e. my book and the companion guide. And
Yeah,
2, we are a living testament to 10 years plus now of what we're
yeah,
talking about, you and I. And
absolutely.
we've also not been joined at the hip, so we bring other relationships, other experiences, other coaches, other mentors, other habits, other goals, and
Yeah,
communication and self-care, all the things that are yet to come. So
right. Exactly.
I
No,
hope we
I
can
and well,
provide value.
if we're gonna, like, pull it all together for everybody, I would say, like, a couple things to keep in mind is that coaching isn't about someone fixing things for you.
Right,
So,
correct.
kinda to your point, like, you have to be ready to do the work, and I think it's about creating space, structure, and accountability so you can actually move forward, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, just to really tie it together, careful what you call a coach. You know, there's
I
a
love that you said that, yes.
yeah, careful what you call a coach because you can have mentors, you can have advisors, you can hire consultants, and you can hire a coach that may or may not be certified according to your interests. My
Yep.
interests are always thinking in terms of validation to the value of what I'm paying for.
Mhm.
And so I do
Yeah.
know coaches out there that are not certified that claim they are because they have the
Yep.
experience, but go ahead and take the test then. And,
Yeah.
give it to your customers and your coachees that you're actually certified is a
Yeah.
personal approach to that, that I invite in
Yeah.
for people to consider. A lot of people call
Absolutely.
themselves a life coach. Well, no, I'd probably call you more of like if you weren't certified in whatever the
Mhm.
instructions are, then you're probably more of a life advisor.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know what your pitch is, but I
For
like the
sure.
ICF version, especially in business for leadership and organizational well-being.
It makes sense. Well, and I think this conversation is just a good reminder that growth doesn't have to be a solo journey, right? And that mentors and advisors are there to give you perspective, and coaches give you some structure and accountability. And there's a time and a place for all of it, like different
Yeah.
stages of your life, different situations. Maybe you need a little of this, maybe you need a little of that. And so maybe the question we could ask everybody to sit with this week is, where are you right now? Do you need perspective or do you need structure?
I think that's a great question to let people sit with, and if they need the structure, they can certainly go to www.howyougothere.com and get the companion guide to start the journey and start to
I
assess.
yes, no, I'm glad that you put that out there, for sure, Scott, and, I think can't they buy the book and the
I think they
companion
can.
guide on that
They
website
can,
too?
yeah, they can do both. It's
Yes,
very
yes,
easy. You
yes.
can also schedule some time with me. We can do a consult and see if I can provide value to what your interests or journeys are, and I'm sure if people are attracted to Linda, they can get you to that way. I can get you through to her as well. Expanding the journey for folks is really what we're about, and I think it's
Absolutely.
very nice dialogue. And every day that goes by, I get more and more enchanted about the possibilities for our listeners and what we're
Me
offering and
too.
demonstrating. So thank you. It's been a
Me
great
too. I
week.
get very excited. Yes,
Yeah.
well, I hope for all of our listeners out there, make sure you like, follow, subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please share it. And
Please do.
for any of our listeners out there that are looking for speakers as well, Scott and I are always happy to come in.
Uh-huh.
We love to do fireside chat. So if that's
Yes.
something that's of interest to you, you can go to that same website.
I
I
think it's
can't remember what was it?
www.howyougothere.com or howyougothere.com.